Hi, my name's Jenny Miller. I'm the Domestic Abuse Service Manager at Rochdale Connections Trust, and I'm here today with Jill. Jill's a mum of one, and she's here to tell us her story. So, hey Jill.
Hi Jenny.
You all right?
Yeah.
Your story lasts over how long?
When I first got pregnant, I'd say.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about, obviously, you, what you do, who makes up your family, and what you do for a job.
My name's Jill Barton, Office Administrator, and I'm a family of 5. I've got a twin brother, an older sister, a sister-in-law, and my mum. And my story, I've got my son, Thomas. My story is basically I got into a relationship. At the time, I actually thought this relationship was very healthy. As soon as I got pregnant, he started getting very controlling. He liked me indoors 24/7. He took my money away. He was out on the Raz most nights, getting drunk till 3, 4 in the morning, bringing people home, bringing parties back to the house. He was taking my gas and electric away, so I had no gas and electric. And once I had my son, it got worse.
Okay, so going back then, if I'm hearing you right, so you started in the relationship when, how old was you when you got into the relationship?
I was 26.
Okay, so how long into the relationship did you have your son Tom?
2 years after I got with my ex-partner, Thomas's father, and I'd say I got pregnant 2 years later, and that's when it all went downhill for me.
So in the first 2 years, would you say it was a good relationship?
Probably a going out partying relationship without realising. It was more having fun together.
Okay. But prior to that, I'd like you to tell people what you did before you kind of got into the relationship, because you had an interesting job, didn't you?
I did. I started out on cruise ships at 19. So I was on cruise ships for a good 4 years, 4.5 years, and then I come home, and to be honest, was single the whole time when I got back, and that's when I met Paul. I was known as a party girl.
Okay.
I won't lie, because on ships,
On
that's
ships.
all you did, yeah. So I got
good life though.
A very good life, very good money, very good life, very independent, out and about. I mean, you were solo, you were on your own.
So then you decided to come off the ships?
Yes.
Why was that?
Just because it was time to, well, I think 4.5 years on a cruise ship floating around was long enough, really. It was time to maybe set some roots and get a little bit of a job back at home. So I was doing hairdressing at home then. Mm-hmm. Got with Thomas's dad. He made sure that I lost my job. Very good at that. He was coming to the shop a lot, abusing me in the shop, slamming the shop door, causing all sorts of.
And what kind of things did your work colleagues think at the time? Were they supportive? Were they not supportive?
They just didn't really know what to do. They just was, can you ask him to stop coming round? In the end, they asked me to leave because it just got too much.
Right. That must have been kind of quite hard for you.
Yeah, it was. That's when I started going inside myself and started just being a lot more quieter and staying in a lot more, doing more what he wanted.
Okay.
And what I wanted.
What kind of things would it be that he wanted?
He wanted to know where I was at all times. He was on the phone 24/7. Needed to know who I was with, what I was doing, when I was coming home. I mean, at the time, you don't realise that it is very controlling. I just thought it was a normal relationship because to be honest, Jenny, I've never really had a proper relationship because I've always been on ships. And when I was at school, I never had a boyfriend at school. Right. I wasn't the type that I was just always with a big group of friends. I was a very social butterfly, really.
So what did your family make of him?
At first, they really liked him, but he showed some, when he was drunk, he was a very different person. It got worse as when Tom was born, really. I still didn't have a clue that it was domestic violence. I actually thought it was normal.
So tell me about that time then. So you got pregnant with Tom. Was you both happy about it?
Yes, we were both happy about it. We started making plans. My family was happy. Then he's just started showing more frightening behaviour to them, so they backed off. So he made sure that I was in a lot more, so I didn't see my family. So it got to a point where I had no friends and I had no family at one point.
Let me just take you back a little bit there. When you said he showed frightening behaviour to your family and friends, what kind of things would he do?
He came to a bonfire night and relieved himself on the bonfire. He come into the house one day, saw his son playing with a doll and launched it across my mum's front room. Wow. I said, no son of mine plays with dolls. And then he just stopped coming round at all then. They never saw him.
And when he stopped coming round, did he say there was a reason for him to stop going round? Did he blame your parents or blame you?
No.
Just couldn't be bothered?
No, just couldn't be bothered. He thought he was above all that.
Okay. So you had Tom, he was born, hospital?
Yes.
Hospital birth? What was the birth like?
I was on my own, so I had no one with me. He was drunk and he stayed for a while and then went and obviously wet the baby's head for a week. Yeah. So I didn't see him for a week then. So I had a newborn on my own.
Did you take Tom home to your shared house?
I took Tom home to my house. I didn't see him for a week. So to be honest, my twin brother's the one that was round a lot and helping out ours up at my mum's a lot then. Because she only lived around the corner, so he used to just push the pram up.
And what did that feel like inside for you, thinking back now?
Lonely. Frightening, scary. Especially when I wasn't the teenager that babysat for other people. I wasn't around babies, really. So I didn't really know what I was doing.
Right.
It was a very big learning curve.
Support though off your mum and
very
brother.
Good, yeah. Full on support of my dad, my mum, and my twin brother.
So what were going through your mind, do you think, at that time? So he's on the missing list. You're panicking.
I don't really, because when he got aggressive, it got to a point where he got me relying on drugs, drink, which got me through my day. So I didn't think. If you understand, it stopped me from thinking.
So if you can tell people kind of a thing, what happened to you, how did he get you on kind of drugs? What kind of words or suggestions or actions did he do to kind of convince you as a new mum?
He used to leave them in the morning, apologise, or he'd pour me a drink. And then it was just because he was on the drugs, it was easier to have them with him than to say no.
Yeah.
I know it's very weak to say that now because, I've been clean for a very long time. I can say no whenever I want now, without the stigma of saying no.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was easier to go along with things than to fight it. Okay. I think the more you went against it, everything was harder work.
Yeah.
So it was just very easy to be weak, to be honest. And especially when I had the newborn and I was struggling, and my brother was having Thomas quite a lot by then anyway. I wasn't on drugs all the time then at all. It was only a little bit. But then the more abuse I was getting, the worse I got mentally, and the more mentally ill I was getting, the more I was wanting a high.
Got you.
Where I got to a stage where I had no hair, and I was pulling my hair out without even knowing I was pulling my hair out, and everyone just presumed it was alopecia. No one even actually asked what was going on. I think a lot was scared to ask
Yeah.
what was going on.
Yeah, because they'd seen a change in
Yeah.
you.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
A very big change. In the end, when my son started breaking his bones because he's got brittle bone, social services obviously came involved. Obviously, they could see I needed help. I mean, but at the time they thought that the bones were getting broken on purpose. They didn't realise, they couldn't diagnose him. That on top of everything else just made things worse. My mental health got even worse. I didn't leave the house. I didn't bother getting dressed. Yeah, the only time I went out was to drop Tom off at nursery and pick him up. And then in the end, they said they were going to go to court to take my son away. That's when I got hold of my twin brother and said, please. And he took Tom in straight away, really. Thank God for family.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who don't have good family out there that can help.
And how old was Tom at that time?
Tom was 3.
Okay.
But I was homeless before then. I decided to leave him. He'd done one incident that got really... He threw an ashtray above on the roof and it smashed above my son. So that's when I actually rung up victim support and went straight to the hostel.
The refuge.
The refuge, 3 in the morning, closed them back, 3-year-old. Stayed there for a while, got a new house. He found out where my new house was. He was coming to the house all the time. He was calling me Garibaldi, nasty names because we were bald. In the end, I rung my brother and said, please, can't deal with this anymore. So then he come down and took my son, really. And then a couple of years, that's when I thought, Mum, sort your head out, get your mental health back on track. And thank God for Rochdale Connections Trust.
When you was in the refuge, was you kind of given support around your mental health or at least signposting?
There was no support in the refuge at the time because there was no nursery running there anymore. They mustn't have had much money. There was just the 2 staff on. So there was no family support worker around then. They were just there to make sure that you got in at the right time. If you stayed out, you let them know. There wasn't really any support. When I got into my house, that's when I got the support, when I went to bond board.
And who did you get the support off?
I got the support of my family support worker.
So at that time, was the social worker still involved?
Yeah, she was more involved though with my family because obviously she was for Tom.
Yes, obviously, because the social worker is for the child.
Yeah.
So she was sort of like kind of supporting your
She was
twin
backing
brother.
my family to make sure that Thomas couldn't get removed from Pete.
Right, okay. And what was family? So while all this was going on and you'd left him because of, you realised that there was immediate danger to your son, so you packed up, gone into the refuge, and then, you was working towards getting your own property and everything. What was your family like with you?
They disowned me, basically. They couldn't watch it anymore. They had to take a bit step back.
Do you think it was hard for them?
It was very hard for them, and I presume it was very hard for them to take a step back. But I think they just thought, Jill, you're going to have to do this on your own. But yeah, I'd say my dad was more like my son's father than his father. And he was closer to my son than his own father was. So all they cared about was Thomas, really, which I understand. I was going
to say, do you, looking back now, do you agree with their decision to step back?
Yes, I do, because I was that focused that nothing anyone would have said would have even altered my thoughts, feelings.
Focused on what?
On all I wanted. I was more... It's really hard to try and say it in words. I was wallowing.
Okay.
Well, I was that focused in wallowing of my own loss.
Got you. So, in a way, you were the victim of I don't want to put words in your mouth,
No.
but do you feel as though you were a victim of an abusive man, and then you were as a victim of, say, your family for
I felt a victim of everything.
and the drugs
Yeah.
and the mental health and
Yeah.
everything? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see it was me that had gone on self-destruct, basically, which I had.
Yeah.
And no one can change your behaviours but yourself. And
Very, very
it
true.
took me a long time to learn that.
Yeah. Okay. So you are now living in a house
Yes.
and you haven't got your son with you.
No.
Your family have took a step back.
Yes.
Was you seeing your son regular?
No.
Okay.
Not at the time. I had to then go back to court and then I got 3 hours a fortnight.
Okay. So did you feel that was...
That I felt like I'd lost everything when I only got that 3 hours a fortnight. At the time, probably the right thing because it was supervised visits. Probably the right thing because my behaviours probably was being displayed. Probably come off very aggressive without meaning to. So I was on the blame game.
Okay.
So it was everybody else's fault. None of it was my fault.
But you're still pulling your hair out by this
I was
time.
still pulling my hair out then. So I think I sort of pushed everyone away.
Okay.
So I'd say, and then my friends couldn't witness what were happening anymore, so they had to take a step back. So I just felt like I was on my own, which probably I wasn't.
So what started the next stage? Because there was a next stage.
There was a next stage. I think the more I was seeing Tom for the 3 hours a fortnight, the more I was, right, I've got to now get myself better. I did a course, what was it called? Something toolkit. I did a parenting course.
Recovery toolkit.
Yeah.
Recovery toolkit.
With the local authority, and then I actually then did the freedom course. Then too, as well as the stress course I did for my panic attacks, my anxiety, my depression and my pulling out of hair. They made me open eyes to my own behaviours, and then behaviours were a knock-on effect for every other thing that was going on.
Got you.
And that's when I realised it's me who had to change, and it was me who had to actually step up and man up. And
Okay, so what did you do then? So give me the next kind of episode.
so then I did the Freedom Project. I did a stress course to stop me from pulling my hair out, which ended up being a Rubik's Cube. And the Freedom course opened my eyes to all the people who harm work, which made me realise that most of the perpetrators on the Freedom was him.
So basically what you're saying is that then you kind of identified the kind of negative behaviours within your relationship.
And
so the abusive behaviours, the emotional impacts, is that...
Yeah, and you know what? In a way, I saw some of the behaviours from the perpetrators in myself.
Okay, so go on,
when
name
I was
that.
doing them. Like, say, my aggressiveness and being very in people's faces and listening to me. The bully, being the bully.
Got you.
I did notice some of them, and that's when I thought, hang on a minute, Jill, if I'm seeing these, not a lot, but I was seeing some of it, I'm thinking, yeah, this is not right. Obviously, I've learned these behaviours from living in these behaviours.
Yeah. So what did you do next? So you did the Freedom 12. You done your other courses, your coping courses on your stress management and everything.
Yeah.
What then?
Then it was right after after a couple of years, it was right. I'm ready now to get out in the world and start working again, because really, work is a big part of socialising. And one thing I'd lost in all of it was how to have an actual, real conversation with people, because you're not really. It's either discussing your son or you. You're not having a normal conversation with anyone. So then, I bumped into Jane. And she said, pop into RCT. We might have some voluntary work for you. So I come in, did a couple of, started working, I think it was 9 hours in the office, doing the odd bit of admin here and there. I think it were only 6 weeks in, and I got offered a position.
Brilliant.
And I was like, great. And I worked from 9 hours to now doing 30 hours. I don't have any issues. I've been clean for nearly 9 years now.
Well done.
And I haven't pulled any hair out since.
Well done.
So, I mean, I'll still every now and then, you've got to always keep looking after your mental health once you've had mental health. You can't take that for granted.
So that's all. I answered a question I was going to ask, is there's anything you could change if you could go back, what would it be and why? So you kind of answered that with your mental health thing, looking after. Is there anything else?
To be honest, Jenny, no. Things happen. It's happened. If I could go back and change it, I'd probably change all of it, but you can't. So I think I've more than anything accepted it, owned it.
Okay.
And just now I concentrate more on the present and the future. I don't really dwell on the past anymore. I think the more that I start doing that, maybe my mental health might decline again, which, I'm quite proud to say that I am doing well.
So if this had not happened to you, all this, what do you think you would have done with your life?
Hopefully I'd still be probably hairdressing full time. Children was never really on the cards for me to start off with. Sorry, Tom. I'd never change that part of my life ever. My son is my sunshine, always will be. But hopefully I'd be working 4 to 6 hours a week like everyone else, really.
Christ, that's a long time.
I used to do 12-hour days, Jenny, on the ships.
So what have you learned from all your experiences? If I could say, do you think now you're stronger for what you've gone through or not?
I've learned to be able to say no. I've learned to stay strong. I've learned to stick to my own views. And I to be honest, the freedom course really made me learn and open my eyes to everything, really. Even I use it now to this day in the relationship I'm in with now. That, if there's alarm bells going off to something, I will address it and say, don't do that again, didn't like that. And yes, touch wood, it'll never happen again.
So if you could offer any words of advice to someone who is going through going through what you have been through, similar kind of thing, can you think of any?
Yeah, I could actually. If they start trying to slowly, if you start trying to tweak you slowly, or they're trying to change you, or they're saying they don't like this and they don't like that, that's an alarm bell. Walk away. Don't let it get to that stage, because once they've got you in that stage, it's very, very hard to walk away.
But when you're in a relationship with somebody and you go out and they have a bit too much to drink, and you kind of go, oh, well, it's just because they've had too much beer or spirits or whatever. So we kind of minimise, don't we? And sort of like, when you get that gut feeling of, oh, I didn't really like that.
Tell them. If they don't like it, that you telling them, that is a big warning sign that obviously if you can't even communicate that you don't like something they're doing, then there's something seriously wrong. Or if they argue with you over you saying I didn't like that, that's a big warning sign in my eyes. That's an alarm bell going off. Ding, ding, ding.
Well, that's dead insightful. What, just to finish off, what would your family now describe you as?
What did my mum say on Sunday
Because
to my aunts?
for me interrupting there, sorry, but I know that you're very much involved with the family. Sorry, can you just sort of like tell people how much you do see your son now?
Oh, I see my son. To be honest, I could probably have my son live with me if I really wanted, but he's 14 now. He's very happy. He's very settled with my twin brother. Always got a smile on his face, and I see him whenever I want. I can get on that phone, I can go up in the car, I can turn up out the blue. There's no set times, no set anything. So
does he stay over?
And he can stay over whenever he wants. In fact, he'll pick up the phone sometimes and say, Mum, I'm staying tonight. Fine, not a problem.
Right, okay. So, sorry, going back to that, how would your family, friends or family?
My family now think they've got the old Jill back. That's what they say.
And is that a nice feeling?
Yes, it is. Very nice feeling.
Is there any women, Rochdale or not, or women who have ever inspired you?
Oh, God, yeah. And I won't lie here. And it's the two women that did the Freedom course. They opened my eyes totally and utterly. And I've got so much full-on respect for them. It's unbelievable. What they do for the girls on a daily basis is unreal.
Well, you know, that's been brilliant. I do know you, you know, because we do work alongside each other. And I've seen a massive change in you over the years. And I think you're an amazing, strong woman, and I think this will inspire other women.
I hope so. And I hope it inspires women to actually think, no, don't take it.
Because women have choices.
Yes, definitely.
Well done, Jill. I think that's been amazing. I thank you very much for your time. And I hope everybody who listens to this are inspired by Jill, because I am on a daily basis.
Oh, thanks, guys.
See ya.
Bye now.